Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to do some feature fixing. And by feature, I mean sometimes when we're creating things in games especially, or in programming in general, um, as we're moving along, we create some byproducts that occur inside the program that we don't necessarily intend to happen. And that's kind of what this feature is. And if you've been playing around with this a little bit, you may have run across a particular feature that has to do with the player in this case. So we're going to go ahead and fix it. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and get out of the way here. All right, so inside our game, if I hit the play button, right, and I don't collect any coins, I set a scenario up where basically I die. Okay, but I'm holding the stop button while I do that. So I'm holding my stop button, and I failed to meet the criteria, and then I get reinstated. Basically, I fly out of the world. Okay, and that's not exactly something we want to have happen. So one way to track this down, let me go ahead and jump back to my player start here, is to go ahead and see what our dampening is doing. Now I know what the problem is, and we can go ahead and get that fixed real quick. So if you want to skip through this, that's fine. If you want to see the process, I'm going to go ahead and show you. So I know that it has to do with something with my dampening, because all of a sudden my dampening is not working and I'm flying out of this world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out from here, and I'm going to get this thing called a print string. And we can delete this after we're done. But this print string is sort of like a debug, okay? And it prints to our screen on the main window. And since I know this is dampening, I want to see what my dampening is set at. So I'm going to pull this, connect it here, and it's going to convert my float, which is the numbers here, to a string that can be printed on the screen, okay? I'm going to compile it, save it, and I'm going to go back to my level, and I'm going to hit play, okay? And here along the left-hand screen, you'll see 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and that's what our initial dampening is set at. Now, if I move forward and then I hold the stop button, you'll see that it jumps up to 5.1. And that's where we're actually adding in that 5 to stop. And then if I let go of the stop button, it goes to 0.1. So when I run this scenario over here, okay, and now I'm going to hold on to the stop button, but you can see that right now I am set at 0.1. If I take my finger off the move and I let go, it changes to negative 4.9. So right now I'm not moving. But what I have here is a situation where I have negative dampening now. And what happened was, by holding the stop button, and when it reset the level, it set my dampening at 0.1, and then when I released the stop button, it subtracted 5 from my 0.1, which is now giving me a negative 4.9. So if I start to move, basically I have negative dampening. Negative dampening is going to accelerate me, so I have basically negative friction. And so when I do that, it flies me off and out of this world. All right, so easy way to fix that. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my player here, and I'm going to leave that on while we run through this. But the problem is right here, right here, where we hook up the stopping. Okay. From looking at that solution, right here we are adding in our dampening together, and then we're subtracting it here. Now, this is probably the area where we can fix it without having to do anything up here. But we could conceivably run into a scenario where we may need to clamp it here. And clamping is what we're going to do to limit where our numbers can be. It can be set between a positive number only in this case, and we know that we want 0.1, which is our lowest, and our max should be 5.1, because when we're stopping in a normal scenario, 5.1 is what we're using to stop. So right here where it says set, what I want to do is I want to do a check. So I'm going to clamp this, okay, and that's the wrong clamp. So let's go ahead and just right click. I'm going to clamp, and I want a float clamp. Okay, you can see there's multiple types of clamps, but what I want is the float one, because we're working with float numbers here. Okay, and yeah, so I actually set that up in the wrong spot. That's why it didn't work out. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab these three here, and I'm going to pull them back to give myself some room, because this clamp actually needs to go on this side I'm going to take the value that I pull out from my addition or my subtraction here, and then I'm going to feed that back into there. Okay, so my clamp is going to do a check. It's going to look and say, okay, so my minimum that I can have is a 0.1. Okay, that's my minimum, and my maximum should be 5.1. All right, so now I have that scenario set up there. I could put it up here in the addition, and we may come back and do that, but right now I know that the problem is in this part of the node. We may not need to add a clamp up there, but we could, and it may be good practice to do so. All right, so I'm going to put that clamp in there. Now we're going to come back in, and I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Now I'm at 0.1. I go, I stop, I'm at 5.1, I let go, I'm at 0.1. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set that same scenario up. I'm going to go to the ball, I'm going to do a restart, and there I am at 0.1. I'm going to let go of my stop button, and now you can see it stayed at 0.1. Okay, so it stayed at the lowest number. Instead of going to negative 4.1, it said, sorry, the lowest number can be 0.1. And that's what it did. It said at 0.1. It wouldn't go any further below that. So now I don't have a negative dampening situation happening, and I still have my dampening working the way it's supposed to. And just to double check it one more time. Okay. Let go of everything, hit the stop button, and everything works the way it's supposed to. So now I don't have that negative scenario happening. Okay, now that we know that it works, let's go ahead and go back in here. We don't really need to leave this print string in here anymore. It wouldn't be something that would actually show up on a shipped game, but it's just not needed, so we're going to go ahead and delete it, take it out, put everything back the way it was with that, and just leave in our new clamp down here. All right, make sure you save everything. So as we move along, we may find these features. This was actually found by a couple of my students in class. They, of course, were playing around with it, testing things out, and discovered that when they came to a stop, they could, when it reset, when they died and it reset, and they were holding the stop button, it would shoot them off the world. There's also a scenario of this where they had their ball actually higher up, and when it came to the ground, and then they would let go at the right timing, the ball would hit the ground. We'd end up with a negative 4.9 dampening, and it would launch it off of the map. So some cool stuff, but not exactly what we wanted for this game. There'll probably be some other things as we move along, and I will make these little feature fixes as we move throughout it. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, subscribe and like the video. I'll see you next time.